this computer. All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I think that we're doing lesson 185. I want the peace of God.
Yes,
And guess what? It's not just you and I
know. Today's a special day.
Yeah.
We are joined by another experienced course student, Poppy.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're going to read this lesson line by line so that our viewers can see how we study when we study in a regular long class.
Excellent. That's a good way to introduce this.
Okay, so I want the peace of God is lesson 185, and if you've got the second or third edition, it's on page 348.
There you go.
So I'll start.
Okay.
And let's go in the usual order where it's me, Poppy, you.
Okay.
How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay. To say these words, I want the peace of God, to say these words is nothing, but to mean these words is everything. If you could but mean them for just an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for you in any form, in any place or time. Well, isn't that amazing?
Not a small claim, I would say.
Yeah. So, I mean, what we really need to do is get into the meaning so that we can relieve ourselves from sorrow in every form. Heaven would be completely given back to full awareness, memory of God entirely restored, the resurrection of all creation fully recognized. Well, one thing that stands out for me here is the resurrection of all creation fully recognized. The idea of fully recognized means it must already have been accomplished.
Yep.
And I still kind of work on the idea of what is the resurrection. And I think what it means here is it's just spirit. It's nothing but spirit.
We're spirit.
Yeah,
Reality
all
is spirit.
creation.
All is spirit.
What do you think?
No, it's very clear. There's a section in the text towards I think it's the last chapter. It's spirit or flesh, and it's up to you which one you identify. And if you identify with spirit, you live in a world where you're invulnerable and cannot be hurt by anything. If you live in a world of flesh, you're just gonna die.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Right. You're at the effect of all the other fleshy things.
Yeah, but that is weird. What's that?
What'd you say, Pop?
I said fleshy thoughts.
Yeah,
fleshy thoughts.
Right. Yeah.
I was thinking that along with the resurrection, I mean, it pairs, I mean, it's making the triplet of heaven and God and resurrection being restored, really. I mean, I like how it says heaven is given completely back to you in awareness, and your memory of God is entirely restored, which fulfills the resurrection, which is a description of what the resurrection of creation is. I mean, that in our recognition, because it never really needed to be resurrected, only in our awareness.
There you go.
Thank you. Great.
Yeah. It's interesting because where we're reading in the text right now, we're coming up to the last unanswered question. And then the section after that says, it's referring to the holy relationship. It says, now the power of the holy relationship will be in your awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's part of what's happening here when it talks about heaven completely back in the memory, is that we're then in communication,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
with everyone from this standpoint
Right.
of peace.
Right.
Because if I'm in peace, then I don't need to negotiate the world or manage it or exploit it in any way.
Right.
I can just receive.
You got everything.
Got everything.
It's also really interesting. It says, if you could just mean, I want the peace of God for just an instant, there would be no further sorrow possible for you in any place or time. It's just all it requires is an instant of full meaning that it, I mean, I don't know, whatever that would be, that it's in entirely in an instant, you would be, I would assume then heaven would be complete. The next sentence is heaven would be completely given back and memory of God restored and the resurrection fully recognized from that instant, from within an instant, which is a big statement.
Yeah.
It sure is.
And I'm so happy you pointed out in that instant, because that means it's right now.
Yeah. We just have to grab it. It's like the grapevine, all these heavy grapes are available, but we're not reaching for it. So, well, that's kind of a dumb analogy, but
No, it is.
Not really.
It's good.
Do you want to go on to the next?
oh, that's right, I'm reading. Okay, paragraph 2. No one can mean these words and not be healed. He cannot play with dreams, nor think he is himself a dream. He cannot make a hell and think it real. He wants the peace of God, and it is given him. For that is all he wants, and that is all he will receive. Many have said these words, but few indeed have meant them. You have but to look upon the world you see around you to be sure how very few they are. The world would be completely changed should any two agree these words express the only thing they want. Wow.
One of the reasons I wanted to record our study of this is because 2 lessons ago, when it was one of those name of God lessons.
Mm-hmm. I call upon God's name in my own. The name of God is my inheritance.
Yeah. So the one of them said, should you join a brother as you sit with him in silence and repeat God's name along with him, within your quiet mind, you have established there an altar which reaches to God himself and to his son. And this, just 2 lessons later, talks about 2 joining. So I thought there was like a little reinforcement there in a hint. You know, he doesn't really say, he says, should this happen, that would be great. But he's not saying do it. But what a wonderful result if we do. So I hope before we finish up this thing, we can all do a short practice together.
Sure.
Any other comments on this paragraph?
Well, yeah. I mean, he was very clear in the first paragraph about what can't or what will happen or what will be the reality in your awareness. But then he starts the second paragraph with saying what can't happen. And what it's saying is that if you mean these words, you will be healed. You could not be healed, right? And he cannot play with dreams nor think himself a dream. He cannot make a hell and think it real. So I think I'm fleshing out more what it would mean to really mean these words in there. But I think 2 or more, is from the beginning of Jesus' teachings, and 2 or more are gathered in my name.
There I am in the midst.
There I am. And I think name can stand in for, the process of atonement. It can stand in for a lot of things, but any dynamic within atonement, I would think it would mean,
You know what? Another thing that stands out in this paragraph for me is, well, actually, it's like an application. Sentence 2. If we mean these words, we cannot play with dreams or think that we are a dream. So we can't believe that our self-concept is who we are.
right?
We can't believe in our mortality, our finiteness, our sinfulness. We can't believe those dreams. And also, if we really mean we want the peace of God, we're not going to clutter up our minds with a lot of dreams of things that I want.
Exactly. And the reason is, of course, is in 2:5, Because if the peace is all that you want, then why would you seek to be a dream or make a hell real?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's saying this peace is comprehensive. It will fulfill
Yeah.
you completely.
Right.
You know, I don't know if this is too abstract, but the only way I can, at this moment, understand this, that if two would agree these words express the only thing they want, the world would be completely changed. In this moment, it means a very, what would seem abstract, but especially given what we were all talking about yesterday, that you're responsible for how your brother sees himself, that in truth, if I really only want peace, I will only see that other person's mind as in peace too.
Right.
I won't see it as a conflicted mind. I may physically see a conflicted mind expressed, but I will know this cannot be true, that it doesn't represent anything meaningful with any true effect.
Right. Great.
That's the only way I can really understand that right now. And there may be, you know, a more specific bodily way of explaining it, but that's the best I can.
That's right on.
Thank you. Good.
Yeah, well, I think for anybody who's, you know, watching us here, you can see how very carefully we study each thing, because, you know, there's gold in them there hills.
Yeah. And like you often say, close reading
pays rich rewards, and anybody can do it. Anybody can read. If you work for McDonald's and you read your job description, you can understand the course. It's that simple.
it is.
All right, should I go on?
Yeah.
Two minds with one intent become so strong that they will that what they will becomes the will of God. Let me read that again. Two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God. For minds can only join in truth. In dreams, no two can share the same intent. So that's the key to meaninglessness and meaning, and the distinction is that you can't share your private world, your private thoughts, your private sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be shared. So what is it that you can share? Right? Well, you can intent, you know, that I would express the will of God. That is something you can share.
Right, right.
But you can't share the private dreams. So I'll go on to,
You know,
go ahead.
well, I'm kind of interrupting, and this is a really meaningful paragraph, but I was just thinking of the miracles in the Bible, you know, that they described as Jesus, the way it, in the relationship, the course, it would be like that, even someone that's seemingly sick, and he comes to them and their minds join, he joins their mind in truth, and then they're healed, because they're receptive, they trust him. Exactly. in that moment.
That's a really good point.
This is a Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You know, it was interesting. I saw Jon Stewart on the new Daily Show.
Yeah. Oh, he was visiting.
He was getting interviewed because of his movie. But what the new Daily Show guy said, don't look at the screen. He said, look at the camera. And he said, oh my God, thank you. And he was but anyway, it's easy to do. All right, so let me start over. That was a really good point, Pops. That was a really good example of how that could happen. Mm-hmm. Join him in that. All right, I'm going to start over on paragraph 3. Two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God. For minds can only join in truth.
In other words, if they're joining with one intent, they are in the will of God, right? Because they can only join in truth.
Excellent point. In dreams, no two can share the same intent. To each, the hero of the dream is different. The outcome wanted, not the same for both. Loser and gainer merely shift about in changing patterns as the ratio of gain to loss and loss to gain takes on a different aspect, another form.
So I'm thinking, was trying to think of an example today of in dreams, no two can share the same intent.
Right.
And I came up with an idea that if we were to clean out the garage
Right.
and then put everything back in,
Yeah.
you and I would have different ideas
Right.
about where things should go, what we should throw out, what we should keep.
Very different.
Yeah, right. Right. And so, you know, one would lose, the other would gain.
Right.
Then we barter and compromise.
That's the whole key.
Yeah,
Is
right.
barter and compromise is exactly what he's talking
Right.
about.
Right. Because cleaning out the garage and deciding which things to keep and which to throw away is not joining in the will of God. God really doesn't care about our garage.
I have his will. You don't. I'm expressing it's God's will that we keep my barbells or whatever. But, all right, so that's the barter. But then the difference then, if minds are joined with one intent,
Yeah.
is through the abundance of love, I communicate to you.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
When peace, when all you want is the peace of God, that means all you want is the love of God.
That's right.
All you want is the awareness that everything is okay,
Yeah.
no matter what it looks like here,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
then there's no.
And then I think you grow to realize that, you know, you're just wrong when it comes to my.
Get out.
Okay.
All right, so a lot in here. So did I finish? Yes.
No. Did
No,
you?
I didn't. Okay. To each, the hero of the dream is different. The outcome wanted, not the same for both. Loser and gainer merely shift about in changing patterns as the ratio of gain to loss and loss to gain takes on different aspects or another form. Well, on that whole barter thing, when he's talking about loss and gain, you can really dig in, you know, and like I can say, this is a first copy of what a book or
Yeah,
something.
first
I can,
edition,
and it's you know, it's like this must be kept,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
and it's like,
It's an idol,
what's more important, you and I getting along and joining
right? Having
Or-
peace.
and having peace,
Yeah.
or me winning?
Yeah, right. I know. And the whole idea of sacrifice comes up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love you, so I'll give in on the most important things dear to my heart.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else you wanted to say, Pop?
No. That was good.
Okay, so we're on
4.
paragraph 4. Yet compromise alone a dream can bring. Sometimes it takes the form of union, but only the form. The meaning must escape the dream, for compromising is the goal of dreaming. So it must mean the meaning of peace. You know how he's been talking to mean these words as everything?
Yeah.
The meaning of peace must escape the dream, for compromise is the goal of dreaming. Minds cannot unite in dreams. They merely bargain. We have to recognize that our minds are joined below the level of dreams, deeper than perception. And what bargain can give them the peace of God? Illusions come to take his place. And what he means is lost to sleeping minds intent on compromise, each to his gain and to another's loss. What can I give you so that you'll give me what I want?
Right.
And what can I give you that won't hurt me as much as maybe what you're going to give me is going to hurt you? I want more
Right.
and give less. That's the compromise story.
And-
That's the marketplace story. Let's let's buy stuff cheap and get more and give less. But you might want to think about,
Well, it's-
who is it that's getting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lost again. That's not a pretty picture.
No, it's not.
Not a pretty picture.
No,
at
but
all.
it's like we're so ingrained. It's like that in the gifts of God. He says the money changers of the marketplace have been your teacher.
Yeah.
And you've been badly taught.
Yeah.
It's not the way that we're supposed to be finding what we really want.
And we understand that because we've been doing the course long enough that when we do get in conflict,
Yeah.
we recognize, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And we change our minds
Yeah.
rather than changing the other person or the situation.
Or coming up with a better compromise.
But the point is, we change our mind
Yeah.
and we have peace
Yes.
rather than trying to change the world around me.
Yes.
And that's the basis of a miracle. I changed my mind.
That's right.
Okay, should I go on?
Yeah.
With 5?
Yep.
To mean you want the peace of God is to renounce all dreams. For no one means these words who wants illusions and who therefore seeks the means which bring illusions. He has looked on them and found them wanting. Now he seeks to go beyond them, recognizing that another dream would offer nothing more than all the others. Dreams are one to him, and he has learned their only difference is one of form, for one will bring the same despair and misery as do the rest. That's pretty. It takes a little bit of life experience to learn that.
Yeah. Say.
So in sentence 1 of paragraph 5, he's really kind of reiterating what he said at the very beginning of this lesson.
Mm-hmm.
If you want the peace of God, you have to give up all other goals.
Yeah. There's no compromise in that.
Yeah,
It's one or the other, but not both.
right. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that he's talking about a process now, right? So in, 5:1, to mean the peace of God, you're renouncing dreams. And then 3, he has looked on them and found them wanting. And now he seeks to go beyond them, recognizing that another dream would offer nothing more than the other. So it's talking about a process where this equation, it's one or the other, but not both. I mean, it's eat flesh or spirit. It's resurrection or crucifixion. There's no in between. And that in the end is choosing simple.
Yeah.
You know?
So in those terms, also I'm thinking, because the Course itself uses our dreaming to wake up, it uses it to undo our dream of misery, so the illusionary level of our dreams is complete in the way we think there's gain and loss and pain and, death and all these bad things can happen. So that's the illusionary level, or is that there is to go to that, is rather than to want the peace, I see conflict. I see a problem. I see the illusion is I see that this is good or bad for me, which this is describing you can't really have something just for yourself anyway. So it's not really good or bad for you because it's, that it might be, I'm sort of going off here, but it's just that I was, for me to absorb this paragraph, it really helps to keep it in my mind that the illusion is of pain, that suffering is inevitable and has to be in my mind, that my mind I accept, or in Course terms too, the condemnation. I accept judgmental, any judgmental thought which implies that I've discredited something else, that I've accepted something and judged against something in the judgment itself. But that's the illusion.
Affirmation is negation. And what I like about the idea of he's just stating unequivocally it's one or the other here. It's it's either you either want the peace of God or you want these private dreams of satisfaction.
Mhm.
But in here, where he's talking about a process, because it is one or the other. It's that stark of a choice. But so the way I'm thinking about it is in that process of ending of like, I just want to choose peace. I just want the peace of God. You see from that ego framework that sometimes you get your way. Oh, that's good. I got my way. And sometimes you don't.
Right.
But with the peace of God, you always get
Yeah.
the return if you ask for it. Always. And you get it right away.
Yeah.
And that's where we begin to discriminate in our minds.
Right.
See how powerful our minds are.
That's
Yeah.
How
always
powerless illusions are. You know, the world of thumbs up and thumbs down.
Yeah.
It's like that whole world is so inferior to the peace of God.
Well, it is, and you're only good as your last day. I mean,
Yeah.
you've always got to keep proving yourself,
Yeah.
proving yourself, and sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. But
Yeah.
if we learn, did we mention a time thing in here? No, but
Not yet.
if we learn that this choice always brings peace,
Mhm.
then that's how we learn to make just that choice.
Yeah.
All right,
Right.
who's up on 6?
Well, I was just going to say one more thing about
Yeah.
you're pointing out, Timothy, about this either or, you know, and the absoluteness of, that it's implied. This lesson is saying about if you really want the peace of God, you know, you have to really totally mean it. That means, but it's easy in every single. I mean, in practice, it's easy to see the difference between I want peace, because peace says there's no conflict. So in my mind, so if I'm having a conflict in my mind, which is pretty ongoing as an ego for me, is that I'm not choosing peace. I choose peace instead of this is another lesson, right? I would choose peace instead of this conflict.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's a good point.
So who's on 6?
Let's see, Jan went.
I did
Yeah.
4. Who read the last one?
I don't
I
know.
did.
Okay, then it's Timothy.
I'm on 6. Okay. The mind which means that all it wants is peace must join with other minds, for that is how peace is obtained. So it may seem nerdy, but it's really not. The word must in there is a logical word, and it doesn't mean you can do this or that you should do this
Or that you have to.
or that you have to do this. It means this will happen. And why? Because you're sharing something instead of jonesing for your private world.
Mhm.
That's how I see that. So the mind which means that all it wants is peace must join with other minds, for that is how peace is obtained. Now there's a definition of the way to peace.
Yeah.
And when the wish for peace is genuine, the means for finding it is given in a form. Each mind that seeks for it in honesty can understand. Now look at that. We're fighting over forms and conflict and compromising. And he's saying here that this learning of peace comes to each of us in a way that we can understand.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. Whatever form the lesson takes is planned for him in such a way that he cannot mistake it if his asking is sincere. But if he asks without sincerity, there is no form in which the lesson will meet with acceptance and be truly learned. Well, Jesus is a pretty good educator here. He sort of has the psychology of learning down.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the motivations and process. And
Yeah.
but I mean, the whole level of, a lot in the course is this idea that we're deceiving ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we forget
Right.
that we're doing that.
Right.
And it just becomes a function of not paying attention
Right.
to our thoughts or really what's going on. And then we just all of a sudden end up there.
All of a sudden we're unhappy. We don't know why.
We don't know.
It's all about the world then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's really encouraging that if the wish for peace is genuine, the means for finding it is given.
Yeah.
So
That's
thank
beautiful.
you. Thank you. It's, you know, it goes back to that idea in the text. When you want something, when you have a goal, the means for the goal will be given. That it's a spiritual goal.
Yeah.
And if we're confused, it's not because we don't like the means. It's because we don't really want the goal.
That's the whole key, because we get, let's see, how is this going to happen? I don't know. Let's see, this worked last week. It doesn't work. And he goes, you're just deceiving yourself that you're confused about the means. Because if you establish the goal as peace,
Yeah.
you can get it right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
other comments on that paragraph?
I don't think you finished, for one thing.
I didn't.
Well, you read it, didn't you, Timothy?
Yeah, I was reading.
Oh.
We're a little confused, Therese.
That's okay.
Yeah. All right, so Jan's on 7 then.
All right. Let us today devote our practicing to recognizing that we really mean the words we say. We want the peace of God. This is no idle wish. These words do not request another dream to be given us. They do not ask for compromise, nor try to make another bargain in the hope that there may yet be one that can succeed where all the rest have failed. To mean these words acknowledges illusions are in vain, requesting the eternal in place of shifting dreams which seem to change in what they offer, but are one in nothingness. Well, I want to go back to the beginning of that paragraph.
Yeah.
Let us today devote our practicing to recognizing that we really mean the words we say. So just as a reiteration, the practice instructions for this lesson are a continuation of what was given on page 286.
My defenselessness, my safety line.
Yeah, in lesson 153. And it says, begin the day, so I'm going back there. Begin the day by giving our attention to the daily thought as long as possible. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 better still. And as distraction ceases to arise to turn us from our purpose, we will find that half an hour is too short a time to spend with God. And then we do that in the evening as well. And throughout the day, on an hourly basis, we do the practice, we remember. Right?
Yeah, well, that's absolutely.
So I want the peace of God on a regular basis. Okay, so then he says.
Well, hang on a second. I just want to make one point. We'll find that it's too short a time. So here's what he's saying, and it's so true of the path of love. The gentleness of the path of love is that you're not fighting against giving up the old way. You just accept the new way, and it automatically pushes out the old.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a fight against myself. Because it's the fight against the self that ends up to be the illusion.
That is the ego.
You know,
the
I must make myself better.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so sentence 1 in 7:1. Let us today devote our practicing to recognizing that we really mean the words we say. We really want the peace of God.
I mean, we experience that. I mean, I think a lot of people who are loving and caring and understand the value of relationships really do start to feel like it's much more important to be loving towards this person than winning.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, it takes a lot, I think, to recognize that we're trying to win our specialness.
Yeah. That's
you know, it's like, no, I really have to have, you know, those things from the store, whatever it is. I really need to get my exercise or my basketball team to agree with what I'm going to do, or I really need to do that. It's all about making me special.
Yeah.
And specialness is of the personality, the ego, and that's not it. The peace of God transcends all of that and is the basis for who we really are.
Yep.
Right? So,
that is the choice.
Yeah.
All right.
So more practice.
Go ahead, Pops.
Okay. Today, devote your practice periods to careful searching of your mind, to find the dreams you cherish still. What do you ask for in your heart? Forget the words you use in making your requests. Consider about what you believe will comfort you and bring you happiness. But be not dismayed by lingering illusions, for their form is not what matters now. Let not some dreams be more acceptable, reserving shame and secrecy for others. They are one, and being one question should be asked of all of them. Is this what I would have in place of heaven and the peace of God?
So devote your practice periods to careful searching of your mind. So, yeah. So I did my practice. I did a practice maybe 10, 15 minutes while I was here in the house. And then I went on a long walk. And on my walk, I asked to be watching my thoughts. What kinds of thoughts am I harboring of things that I think I want that could be destroying my peace, even momentarily. So, I mean, there's stuff like, oh, what is that? Are those mites, or is that some kind of an infection on the fig leaves? You know, the leaves of our little fig trees. You know, worry. I mean, everybody's got their own. I mean, other people might say that is so dumb that could never disturb my peace. Well, it disturbs mine. You know, because I identify with my fig trees like they are important. They got to be healthy and happy, or I'm not healthy and happy. That is an illusion. That's a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff like that. They're little, and that's why it says, careful searching of your mind. Be vigilant for those thoughts. Whatever can give us that little twinge of worry, anxiety, disappointment, frustration,
Right.
anger, any of those things, those are destroying our peace of mind. And we don't want them.
No. You know, the traditional way to handle all that was not that gardens and flowers are not important or valuable. Obviously, their beauty is valuable. But it's the idea I don't own the flowers. I'm a steward of these things.
Yeah.
They're for me to share.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the big difference. Right?
That's a good start.
Yeah. But if I'm letting it define me, I'm the person with the wonderful garden.
Right.
You know.
Right.
It's funny that, yeah, so that becomes the criteria. Sort of, is this defining me as different from somebody else? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Different, and also does it, I mean, just watch your emotions. Yeah. I mean, that's how I find it.
Yeah.
Because I don't realize it's defining me until it's too late, till I'm already upset about it. Okay, I'll tell you one I'm upset about. I'll tell you one that recurs as a thought.
All right.
That gets me.
Are we ready?
Is everybody
Poppy
ready?
lives with us.
Everybody's gonna relate to this one.
All right.
The government still hasn't sent me my check.
The
That's
bad
like, what?
Bad
what?
Government.
Every day I go and it's like, and that's destroying my peace. Hey, it's not worth it. It is totally not worth it. The peace of God is what I want. And I can let Holy Spirit take care of the form. If I don't ever get the check, okay. I'm okay. I'm still okay because I have the peace of God.
So how does that relate to this, what we've been talking about, how all thinking starts first with what I think I am?
Well, how does it relate?
Well, if I define myself by the things that I own,
yeah,
then
I'm a body.
I'm a body.
Yeah.
I'm a body.
I need to be safe. I have to have this and that and the other thing. And my health. So I'm interrupting in a way, but I was thinking about, since I have health stuff, I was thinking that's a biggie, that I'm cherishing the dream of not feeling like I am, my body not feeling the way it feels right now. And that whatever that might look like in form that you do or don't do about certain things like that. I mean, about your health, but that's not the point, is that right now I'm like thinking, this is like, you know, like that, but it's what kind of quality, what am I, that's the dream of the body, like that's the only thing that matters, is like, and all the ramifications of what I own and what people think of me and what other people do or don't do, all that makes me confirm I'm a person that has a body. And this is like pretty abstract to get, and it's not really necessarily the best place to start working with the Course in Miracles, but it's sort of, you can end up begin there or end up landing there. You have to get there somehow. I mean, you have to question that your mind, you know, you have to realize if your mind is defining everything, it's defining you as a body in your mind. It's all, if it's really truly a thought, everything is thoughts of God, and that everything else is not really meaningful. Anyway, now I'm going off. So
No, you're
I'll
not.
stop.
You know, I've mentioned this before, but I've been thinking about the transition from part 1 to part 2 in the workbook, and that's been let go of this old and gain the new. And I'm saying, like, what is it that we need to attain in order that we can move into this new perception? And it over and over and over, it seems to be this peace of mind, because that first lesson says, peace to my mind, let all my thoughts be still. So that is an element of peace, that it's not that you're not thinking, you're not analyzing, and you're not cogitating about something that's not just before you. Like one example I used the other day, I went on a walk, I was in the middle of video editing, and then it was time for my walk. And my whole time I'm on the walk, I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about what am I going to do when I get back to the video editing? And it was unnecessary thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if it was something I could solve in my mind at that moment, mm-hmm. then fine. But most of it was questions that couldn't be answered at that moment. And then my mind's going on that, and mm-hmm. It's going on that. Mm-hmm. And it's like peace of mind, let all my thoughts be still.
And what I've noticed, I'm sure the two of you have noticed, is that when I allow myself to be quiet around an issue,
yeah.
I mean, I'll look at the issue and become familiar with what the problem seems to be.
Yeah.
But then give it to the Holy Spirit in the sense of, I'm not going to think about this for a while.
Yeah.
I'm going to just set this aside and let the answer be given to me.
There you go.
Very often, a really good answer comes up. And
yeah.
It's like, people talk about using that method as if it's the subconscious mind. Well, maybe it is, but it's also the Holy Spirit speaking.
Well, that's how they often describe the creative process in the mind.
Yeah.
You're struggling with it on this level and struggling with it and trying this and trying that. And you do as much as you can. And then you just sort of let it lay, mm-hmm. and then the answers will bubble up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So peace generally brings a much better answer.
Very practical, actually.
Yes, it is. It really is.
Yeah. So mind watching all day long.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about the last one is he says, and don't distinguish between what you think is righteous or good example of it or a bad one, right? It's like, I want to buy a loaf of bread, and well, there's a lot of examples. I don't want to just draw one, but.
Are you talking about don't reserve shame and secrecy for some dreams?
And then the other one. So I was trying to think of an example which,
I don't want anybody to know that I bought a cinnamon bun and ate it on the way home.
Okay, there's one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mind watching is a big topic. Is there anything else you'd like to say about that, Poppy?
I guess not. No, I can't think it. Not right now.
Okay. So.
Okay.
That's the practice, is watching the mind, Be not dismayed. I love this. 8:5. Be you not dismayed by lingering illusions, for their form does not matter now. So it's like just discounting this whole set of thoughts.
Right.
It's just form. It's just something that's I think should happen in time and space.
And I think what this is saying too is that you decide that you don't want dreams, you want the peace of God, but there's still going to be, you still have to think about, well, should I buy a loaf of whole Ezekiel bread or a cinnamon bun, right, to follow on your example.
Yeah.
And so don't be dismayed by that. Don't worry about that. Because we have to deal with form here. You know, we have bodies. It
Right.
appears that we have bodies.
Well, you're right, but he also says, don't think the good is going to cancel out the bad.
Right. It's all irrelevant.
It's all
All of it. Yeah. So he says, let not some dreams be more acceptable, reserving shame and secrecy for others. They are one.
Right. So for 3 weeks, you've been going to buy the cinnamon bun and hiding it. But now you've repented, and now you're doing Ezekiel bread.
Oh yeah, that would be the barter and compromise idea.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got to pay for my sins.
Pay for
You
your-
were getting right back into the sacrifice idea.
Right. And the Ezekiel bread is no different than the cinnamon bun from this level.
From the point of view of what dreams.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
So-
that's a good, I hope that's, does that sound right, Poppy?
Yeah, like to me, it means the conflict is the problem, not what you buy.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's it.
Perfect.
It's a perfect way to say it.
So I think you are on 9, honey.
Well, if
Yeah.
you just read 8, then 9 would be Poppy.
Oh, sorry.
I think didn't I read 8?
We're
Ah,
happy to see.
We do
I
this
did.
all the
I
time.
read 8. I read 8.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'll read 9 then. All right. So, having said what he did in 8, this is the choice you make. Be not this. So the choice is, do I want my dreams of, like Jan said, specialness, or do I want heaven and the peace of God?
Right.
This is the choice you make. Be not deceived that it is otherwise. No compromise is possible in this. So what he's saying here is, even though this is a process, he's talking about a process, right? Because it's the start either or thing. But don't then, because it's a process, think that you can equivocate on compromise and barter. It's not, if it's compromise and barter, it's going to be the same outcome.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a choice you make. Be not deceived that otherwise. No compromise is possible in this. You choose God's peace or you've asked for dreams.
So the dreams can be acceptable or bring you shame. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. they're
That's
dreams.
one side.
Yeah.
That's the thumbs up, thumbs down. Does not matter.
Yeah.
It's either that, the world of barter, compromise, conflict, or God's peace. And in that, no compromise is possible.
That's
If you
Sure.
want peace, you're going to have peace. You want dreams, either happy dreams, well, not in the technical sense that the Course is using it, but you want,
pleasant dreams. Or
Yeah,
unpleasant
yeah. or unpleasant dreams are all the same.
That's a really good way to say it. Okay, you choose God's peace or you've asked for dreams, and dreams will come as you requested them. Yet will God's peace come just as certainly and to remain with you forever. Well, there's a big difference between the ego's dreams working out sometimes and then not other times.
Hey, that cinnamon bun only lasted a minute.
Yeah, right. And but it was worth the shame, right? No. All right. But the peace comes forever because he's talking about something that's always there.
Yeah.
Right? Form of forgiveness is always there. It will not be gone with every twist and turning of the road to appear unrecognized in forms which shift and change with every step you take. I mean, that's what he says about the world. You know, if it's just fixing the world in and of itself, there's always going to be another problem that comes up. You solve
Yeah.
one and another one comes up.
Yeah.
Or you see aspects of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's trying to straighten the curly tail of a dog. It just keeps flipping.
Yeah.
All right, you're
That's
on 10.
dreams. I'm on 10.
Yeah.
You want the peace of God. and so do all who seem to seek for dreams. You know, this is a teaching that I got even before the course,
Yeah.
is that no matter what a person is doing, even if they're murdering, they are trying to get peace. They're fighting within their mind and thinking that one thing is going to bring them peace.
Yeah.
And so they could do horrible things, but their motivation is still that they want some form of peace. They just don't know how to get it.
You see, that's a really important point.
Yeah.
Because he begins 14 with saying,
Chapter 14?
Chapter 14, he says, what we need is happy learners. Your problem right now is not that you don't want to be happy. Your problem right now is you believe happiness is misery. And what he means by that is you think happiness is the specialness this is talking about.
Yeah.
The dreams.
Right.
So if I still want happiness, I can't say, oh, you manifested misery because that's what you wanted. No, I wanted happiness.
Right.
It was just a maladaptive way to get it.
Maladaptive strategy, right. Okay, you want the peace of God. Everybody wants the peace of God. And so do all who seem to seek for dreams. For them, as well as for yourself, you ask but this, when you make this request with deep sincerity, a nice thought. For thus you reach to what they really want, and join your own intent with what they seek above all things, perhaps unknown to them, but sure to you.
That's really important, because what that says is your intentions are nothing compared to the fact that it's the Holy Spirit doing this all the time. That's what's going on all the time.
Right.
Our intentions are beside the point, except when we want to intend to become aware of what's going on.
You have been weak at times, uncertain in your purpose, unsure of what you wanted, where to look for it, and where to turn for help in the attempt. Help has been given you, and would you not avail yourself of it by sharing it?
There's the key.
There's the key. Yep.
I can't share my private dreams. All we can do is fight over the form.
Share the true desire.
Yep.
Okay.
Salvation, peace.
Any comments, Poppy?
Well, actually, I can't, the way I'm reading that, help has been given you, and would you not avail yourself of it by sharing it? Which, referring back to what Timothy was talking about with the Holy Spirit, that your intent is joining with the Holy Spirit's intent, which is only peace, which is that there couldn't be a conflict. So then you're sharing, you're availing yourself of help by, I don't even know if this is not, I don't even know how to say it, but I mean, it seems like unlogical, or maybe it's like, to me, this inner logic is that you automatically share when you're not in conflict.
Yeah.
You have received help to not be in conflict because it's not of the nature of the ego. The ego can't exist without conflict of some sort.
Yeah.
So that you've received some kind of help, and innate within that help is sharing, because it's not about an individual person.
Good point.
It's not about just you. And the help is for everybody.
That's right.
Yeah. It's what everybody wants. Yeah, thank you.
When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone.
Yeah.
That kind of, this paragraph's reflecting back with the intent and two people joining idea of you join your intent with what they seek too, even if they don't, perhaps unknown to them, but sure to you. Yeah. So it's further elaborating on that.
Yeah. And to me, the big thing in especially in a world where you believe in what you manifest is what you experience, what that's saying is I can't look at somebody and dismiss them because they made up all this negative stuff. That's not really what they wanted.
No, they really wanted.
They wanted the peace of God.
Yeah. That's like looking for the Christ in the other person.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, in the end, that's why we can really, it's not really sharing in the end. It's, we're the same.
Right.
Right.
Right. We're recognizing.
Yeah. All right.
You're on 11.
I am.
Yeah.
Okay. No one who truly seeks the peace of God can fail to find it. So that's been 3 not fails to find. No one can seek the truth who fails to find it. And
No one can fail to find the truth
who seeks to find, yeah, that's better. And then no one can fail to understand if they ask what the meaning of the name of God is. And now no one, you can understand what the meaning of peace is. All right, no one who truly seeks the peace of God can fail to find it. For he merely asks that he deceive himself no longer by denying to himself what is God's will. Who can remain unsatisfied, who asks for what he has already? We take a journey that's already over, he says, keep saying. Who can be unanswered, who requests an answer which is his to give? The peace of God is yours. Well, that's encouraging. Just stop deceiving myself.
Yeah.
Go
That's
ahead.
like well, I mean that only God's will is really, there is no will but God's will. There is no will but God's. That's another lesson, but I mean, it's the same thing through the whole course. There is only God's will. Otherwise, there could be not God, which is why the egoic thinking is crazy.
And I always think, when I think of God's will, I always think his will for me is perfect happiness. Lesson 101.
But that can be tricky if you're not versed in thinking of what, well, this lesson itself, yeah, is a training in looking at what would really be happiness.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So you just read, it's my turn.
Yep.
For you was peace created, given you by its creator and established as his own eternal gift. How can you fail when you but ask for what he wills for you? Hey, if God wants it and I want it,
What's the problem?
what's the problem? And how could your request be limited to you alone? That's what you were saying, Poppy. This gift exists on the interpersonal level. No gift of God can be unshared, because God created one Christ, one Son, one sonship, one being. It is this attribute that sets the gifts of God apart from every dream that ever seemed to take the place of truth. Yeah, if I want my way, I want my thing, I'm not in the realm of God's will.
Right.
God's will for us is peace and joy and happiness.
But I think, again, it's always coming back to me about not necessarily the actual thought itself, but what is it feeling like? Like, is it conflictual?
Right.
I mean, does it feel like a pain? Does it have something in it that takes my peace away?
Yeah, I work that way too, Poppy, with how does it feel? That'll tell you whether you're thinking with God or not. It really does. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I'm on 13.
Yep.
No one can lose and everyone must gain whenever any gift of God has been requested and received by anyone. God gives but to unite. To take away is meaningless to him. And when it is as meaningless to you, you can be sure you share one will with him and he with you. And you will also know you share one will with all your brothers whose intent is yours. Keeps bringing that up, that intent, shared intent. yeah, what we really want.
What we really want underneath all the dreams, all the conflicts. Yeah.
You know, the lesson that you referenced, Poppy, in that lesson, it says this is the basis of peace of mind. But the lesson is there is no will but God's. I am safe today because there is no will but God's. I can become afraid only when I believe there is another will. I try to attack only when I'm afraid, and only when I try to attack can I believe that my eternal safety is threatened. Today I will recognize that all this has not occurred. I am safe because there is no will but God's.
Yeah, so what you're pointing out is that these lessons are repeated throughout the course in different ways.
Different ways,
Yeah.
themes that were.
So that was early on. That was way back in 87.
Yeah, it's lesson, well, there is no will but God's was lesson 74.
Oh, okay.
But this I was reading from the review. So did you want to do a practice at the end here, Jan? And maybe by me reading this last paragraph?
Read the last paragraph and then let's read this little part right here.
Okay,
to start.
all right.
Okay.
So paragraph 14, it is this one intent. What one intent?
The one intent for peace that all brothers share.
Okay. It is this one intent we seek today, uniting our desires with the need of every heart. Listen to this list. Uniting our desires with the need of every heart, the call of every mind, the hope that lies beyond despair, the love attack would hide, the brotherhood that hate has sought to suffer, but which still remains as God created it. With help like this beside us, can we fail today as we request the peace of God be given us?
Well, we cannot.
We cannot.
So we're going to just take a couple of minutes of silence, joining together in the peace of God. So I'm going to read from just a couple lines from paragraph 3, and then we'll have some silence,
Okay.
and I'll say amen at the end.
Before reading that, do we want to mention the part of practice, which is searching the mind, or do you just want to focus on that?
Well, it does say over in 8, today devote your practice periods to careful searching of your mind to find the dreams you cherish still. So what happens for me is I think to myself, I want the peace of God.
Mhm.
And I join with you and with everyone who wants the peace of God. And when thoughts come through my mind that distract me, those are the things that are the dreams. They represent the dreams I cherish still, or
Okay.
the idle thoughts that are taking me away from the peace of God.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
so here we go. Two minds with one intent become so strong that what they will becomes the will of God. For minds can only join in truth. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all for joining us. Thank
Yeah.
you, Poppy.
Thank you very much for having me come into this class.
Really good.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing for us.
I-
Alrighty. Okay, we're going to close off. Thanks. Take care. Well, I better stop recording.